The morning sun cast long shadows across the abandoned construction site where Maya had been hiding for 3 days. Her stomach growled with hunger, but she dared not venture out during daylight hours. The 17-year-old girl pulled her thin jacket tighter around her shoulders, wincing as the movement aggravated the bruises along her ribs. Maya's story began 6 months earlier in a small apartment across town. She lived with her stepfather, Rick, after her mother died in a car accident 2 years prior. Rick had seemed kind enough when he first married her mother, but grief and alcohol had transformed him into someone Maya barely recognized. The verbal abuse started slowly, then escalated to something much worse. The breaking point came on a cold Tuesday evening. Maya had arrived home from her part-time job at the local diner to find Rick waiting in the living room, drunk and angry about something trivial. She had forgotten to buy milk on her way home. In his twisted mind, the small oversight justified what happened next. Maya touched her left cheek gently, feeling the faded yellow bruise that still reminded her of that night. She had made a decision then, and there, she would rather face the dangers of the streets than spend another day under Rick's roof. With nothing but the clothes on her back and the $47 from her tips that week, she had slipped out through her bedroom window while Rick passed out on the couch. The construction site had become her temporary sanctuary. Workers only came during weekday mornings, leaving her plenty of time to scavenge for food and find safe places to sleep. She had discovered a small space beneath a large concrete slab where she could curl up with some discarded tarpaulin to stay warm. Maya often thought about her friend Jessica, who had offered to let her stay over sometimes. But Jessica's parents asked too many questions, and Maya feared they would contact social services. She had heard horror stories about the foster care system from other kids at school. At least on her own, she had some control over her fate. On the third morning at the construction site, Maya noticed a figure approaching from across the empty lot. She ducked behind a pile of steel beams, her heart racing. The person walked with purpose, scanning the area methodically. Maya held her breath and prayed whoever it was would pass by without noticing her hiding spot. The footsteps grew closer. Through a gap in the steel beams, Maya could see worn leather boots and dark jeans. Her pulse quickened as she realized this person was searching for something, or someone. She pressed herself further back into the shadows, fighting the urge to run. Running would only draw attention, and she had nowhere else to go. Hunter Matthews had been tracking runaways for the past 8 years. As a private investigator specializing in missing persons cases, he had seen every variation of desperation and fear. When Rick Thompson hired him to find his missing stepdaughter, Hunter had initially taken the case at face value. A concerned stepfather worried about a troubled teenager who had run away from home. But something about Rick's demeanor during their meeting had bothered Hunter. The man showed more anger than genuine concern, and his description of Maya painted her as rebellious and ungrateful rather than troubled. Hunter had learned to read between the lines in these situations. More often than not, kids ran away for good reasons. Hunter had spent 2 days canvassing the usual spots where runaways gathered: bus stations, fast food restaurants, abandoned buildings, and construction sites. The construction site on Maple Street was his fourth stop that morning. Something about the disturbed dust patterns and small pieces of fabric caught on the chain-link fence told him someone had been staying there recently. As he moved deeper into the site, Hunter's trained eye picked up subtle signs of human presence. A small depression in the dirt where someone had slept, discarded food wrappers hidden beneath debris, and the faint smell of someone who had not bathed in several days. He was getting close. Maya watched in terror as the boots stopped just a few feet from her hiding place. Her breathing seemed impossibly loud in the silence. She closed her eyes and tried to make herself as small as possible, knowing that discovery was inevitable. "I know you're there," Hunter said quietly, his voice carrying a gentleness that surprised Maya. "I'm not here to hurt you. My name is Hunter Matthews. I'm a private investigator, and someone hired me to find you." Maya's blood turned to ice. Rick had sent someone after her. She had been naive to think he would just let her disappear. Her whole body began to shake as she imagined being dragged back to that apartment, back to his fists and his cruel words. "Please," Hunter continued, crouching down so he was closer to her level. "I just want to talk. I know you're scared, and I understand why you ran away. But staying out here isn't safe, especially for someone your age. Go away, Maya whispered, her voice barely audible. I won't go back there. You can't make me. Hunter's heart sank at the fear in her voice. He had heard that same tone countless times before, the sound of someone who had been hurt badly enough to choose the dangers of the street over the safety of home. It confirmed his suspicions about Rick Thompson. What's your name? Hunter asked, settling into a more comfortable position on the ground. He made no move to approach her hiding spot, understanding that any sudden movement might cause her to bolt. It doesn't matter, Maya replied, though her voice was slightly stronger now. It matters to me, Hunter said. Everyone's name matters. Everyone's story matters. Maya remained silent, but Hunter could hear her breathing had become less ragged. He decided to take a different approach. You know, I was a runaway once too, he said, his voice taking on a conversational tone. I was 15 when I left home. Thought I could make it on my own, prove to everyone that I didn't need anybody. Despite herself, Maya found herself listening. There was something in his voice that didn't match her expectations of someone sent by Rick. I lasted about a week before I realized how hard it really was, Hunter continued. Found myself hiding under a bridge, hungry and cold, wondering if I had made a terrible mistake. But I was too proud to go back, too scared of admitting I was wrong. What happened? Maya asked before she could stop herself. A social worker named Mrs. Rodriguez found me, Hunter said with a slight smile in his voice. She didn't try to drag me back home right away. Instead, she bought me a sandwich and asked me to tell her my story. Really listened, you know? That was the first time in years that an adult had actually listened to what I had to say. Maya felt tears prick at her eyes. She couldn't remember the last time an adult had treated her with kindness, let alone listened to her problems. Mrs. Rodriguez helped me understand that running away wasn't solving my problems, just creating new ones, Hunter said. But she also helped me find a solution that didn't involve going back to a dangerous situation. There is no solution, Maya said, despair heavy in her voice. You don't understand what he's like. Then, tell me, Hunter said simply. Help me understand. Maya hesitated. Every instinct told her not to trust this stranger, but something about his calm presence and patient demeanor made her want to believe him. She thought about the past 3 nights sleeping on cold concrete, about the constant fear and hunger, about the hopelessness that seemed to grow stronger each day. He hits me, she said finally, the words barely a whisper. My stepfather. He does other things too. Since my mom died, he's gotten worse. The drinking makes him angry, and I'm always there when he needs someone to blame. Hunter felt a familiar anger rising in his chest, not at Maya, but at the adults who were supposed to protect children like her and failed so completely. He had seen this scenario too many times, and it never got easier. How long has this been going on? He asked gently. About a year, Maya said. At first it was just yelling, calling me names. But then. She trailed off, unable to finish the sentence. You don't have to explain everything right now, Hunter said. But I need you to know that what's happening to you isn't okay. You deserve to be safe, and you deserve to have adults in your life who protect you instead of hurt you. Maya had not heard words like these in so long that they almost seemed foreign. Part of her wanted to believe him, while another part remained convinced this was some kind of trap. If you're working for him, why are you being nice to me? She asked suspiciously. Hunter was quiet for a moment, choosing his words carefully. Because sometimes when adults hire me to find missing kids, they're not telling me the whole truth about why those kids left. And sometimes, my job becomes less about bringing kids home and more about making sure they're actually safe. What does that mean? Maya asked. It means that I'm not going to drag you back to a place where you're being hurt, Hunter said firmly. But I also can't leave you out here. There are other options, better options, but they require you to trust me enough to come out from under there so we can figure this out together. Maya's mind raced. She wanted desperately to believe him, but years of broken promises from adults had taught her to be cautious. Still, what choice did she really have? She was cold, hungry, and increasingly aware that she couldn't survive on the streets indefinitely. If I come out, you promise you won't try to grab me or force me to go anywhere, she asked. I promise, Hunter said without hesitation. You can sit 10 feet away from me if that makes you feel safer. This is your choice, Maya. Maya's breath caught. He had said her name, which meant Rick had told him who she was. But, somehow, hearing her name spoken with kindness instead of anger was almost overwhelming. Slowly, carefully, Maya began to crawl out from beneath the concrete slab. She emerged dirty and disheveled, her clothes torn from 3 days of hiding in construction debris. When she finally stood up, she kept the promised distance between herself and Hunter, ready to run if necessary. Hunter got his first good look at the girl he had been hired to find. She was smaller than he had expected, probably no more than 5 feet tall, with long dark hair that hung in tangles around her face. But it was her eyes that struck him most. They held a wariness that no 17-year-old should have to carry. "Thank you for trusting me," he said simply. Maya wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly self-conscious about her appearance. She studied Hunter's face, looking for any sign of deception or threat. He appeared to be in his 30s, with sandy brown hair and kind eyes that seemed genuine in their concern. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now we figure out how to keep you safe," Hunter replied. "But, first, when was the last time you ate a real meal?" Maya's stomach chose that moment to growl audibly, answering his question for her. She felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment. "There's a diner about 6 blocks from here," Hunter said. "Good food, quiet booths in the back where we can talk privately." "What do you say?" Maya hesitated, still unsure whether this was all too good to be true. But her empty stomach and the genuine concern in Hunter's voice finally won out over her fear. "Okay," she said quietly. "But I want to sit where I can see all the exits." Hunter nodded, understanding her need to feel like she could escape if necessary. "That's smart thinking," he said. "Always good to know your options." As they walked toward Hunter's car, Maya found herself stealing glances at this stranger who had somehow managed to coax her out of hiding with patience and kindness. For the first time in months, she allowed herself to hope that maybe, just maybe, there was a way out of the nightmare her life had become. Hunter opened the passenger door for her, another small gesture that reminded Maya what respect looked like. As they drove toward the diner, she stared out the window and tried to imagine what came next. She had taken the first step by trusting Hunter, but she knew the hardest conversations still lay ahead. The construction site grew smaller in the rearview mirror as they pulled away. Maya realized she was leaving behind not just her makeshift shelter, but also the isolation and despair that had been her constant companions for the past 3 days. For the first time since running away, she felt like she might actually have a chance at something better. Hunter glanced at her as they stopped at a red light. "You did good back there," he said quietly. "It takes courage to trust someone when trust has been broken before." Maya nodded, not trusting her voice to remain steady if she tried to respond. She leaned her head against the cool window and closed her eyes, allowing herself to feel cautiously optimistic about what the next few hours might bring. The Sunrise Diner was exactly as Hunter had described, quiet, warm, and filled with the comforting smell of coffee and home-cooked food. Maya slid into the booth he had chosen, positioning herself so she could see both the front entrance and the back exit. Hunter sat across from her, giving her space while remaining close enough to continue their conversation. When the waitress approached, Maya realized she had not spoken to another person besides Hunter in 3 days. The simple act of ordering food felt strange and wonderful. She asked for pancakes, eggs, bacon, and orange juice, more food than she would normally eat, but her body craved the calories she had been denying it. "Take your time," Hunter said as their food arrived. "We can talk while you eat, or after. Whatever feels right to you." Maya ate slowly at first, almost afraid the food might be taken away. But, as Hunter made casual conversation about the weather and the diner's history, she began to relax. He seemed content to let her set the pace for everything. "You said you were a runaway too," Maya said between bites of pancakes. "Were you telling the truth, or just trying to get me to come out?" Hunter smiled slightly. "I don't lie to kids about important stuff," he said. "Yeah, I ran away when I was 15. My dad had a drinking problem, and, when he drank, he got violent." "Sound familiar?" Maya nodded, recognizing the parallel to her own situation. "The difference was that I had somewhere to run to," Hunter continued. My older brother lived 2 states away. I thought if I could just get to him, everything would be fine. But I didn't have money for a bus ticket, and I was too proud to call him and ask for help. So what did you do? Maya asked. I tried to hitchhike, Hunter said with a rueful laugh. Got picked up by some guys who seemed nice enough at first. Turned out they were looking for kids exactly like me, alone, desperate, with nowhere to go. Maya's fork paused halfway to her mouth. What happened? They told me they could help me get to my brother, but first I needed to do some favors for them to earn the money, Hunter said, his expression growing serious. I was young and scared, but I wasn't stupid. I knew what kind of favors they meant. Maya set down her fork, suddenly understanding why Hunter had been so patient with her, why he understood her fear. I managed to get away from them when we stopped for gas, Hunter continued. Ran into the bathroom and climbed out a window. That's when I ended up under that bridge I told you about. And the social worker really helped you? Maya asked. Mrs. Rodriguez changed my life, Hunter said simply. She didn't just find me a safe place to stay. She helped me understand that what was happening at home wasn't my fault, and that I had choices beyond running or staying. Maya pushed her eggs around on her plate, processing what Hunter was telling her. What kind of choices? Well, in my case, she helped me contact my brother, Hunter said. Turns out he had been trying to figure out how to help me for months, but he didn't know how bad things had gotten. Mrs. Rodriguez helped us navigate the legal system so I could go live with him legally. Just like that? Maya asked skeptically. Not just like that, Hunter admitted. It took time, and there were social workers involved, and court dates. But Mrs. Rodriguez made sure I was in a safe foster home while everything got sorted out. And she made sure I understood that I had rights, that adults couldn't just hurt me because they felt like it. Maya felt a familiar tightness in her chest. But what if there's nobody like your brother? What if there's nowhere else to go? Hunter reached across the table and gently touched her hand. There are always options, Maya. They might not be perfect, and they might not be easy, but there are always better choices than staying somewhere you're being hurt. Maya looked down at Hunter's hand covering hers. It was the first gentle touch she had experienced in months, and it made her want to cry. Rick told you to find me, she said quietly. He's paying you. Yes, he is, Hunter said honestly. But my responsibility is to make sure you're safe, not to deliver you back to someone who's hurting you. Sometimes those two things don't go together. Won't you get in trouble? If you don't bring me back? Hunter leaned back in the booth, considering his answer. Maya, I've been doing this job for 8 years. I've learned that there are different kinds of success. Bringing a kid home to safety is success. Bringing a kid back to abuse is failure, no matter what the person paying me wants. But the money. I'll refund Rick his money, Hunter said with a shrug. I've done it before when I realized a parent or guardian wasn't telling me the truth about why a kid ran away. Maya stared at him in amazement. You would really do that? I've already decided to do that, Hunter said firmly. The moment you told me he hits you, this became about your safety, not about earning my fee. Maya felt tears begin to well up in her eyes. After months of feeling like no one in the world cared what happened to her, Hunter's words seemed almost impossible to believe. I need to ask you some questions, Hunter said gently. They might be hard to answer, but I need to understand exactly what's been happening so I can figure out the best way to help you. Maya nodded, wiping her eyes with her napkin. The hitting, when did it start? Hunter asked. About 6 months after my mom died, Maya said quietly. At first it was just a slap if I talked back or if I didn't have dinner ready when he got home from work. But then, it got worse. Worse how? Maya took a shaky breath. He started hitting me harder. And he would touch me sometimes. In ways that made me feel sick. Hunter felt that familiar anger rising again, but he kept his voice calm and gentle. Did he ever force you to do anything sexual? He tried, Maya whispered. A couple of times. But I fought him off. That's when the hitting got really bad. That's when you decided to run away? The last time, he said that if I didn't stop fighting him, he would make me sorry, Maya said, her voice barely audible. The look in his eyes. I knew he meant it. I knew if I stayed, eventually he would. She couldn't finish the sentence. Hunter nodded, understanding. You did the right thing by getting out of there, he said firmly. What he was doing to you is illegal, and it's not your fault. Sometimes I wonder if I just imagined how bad it was, Maya said. He told me I was being dramatic, that I was making things up. That's what abusers do, Hunter said. They try to make you doubt your own experience, make you think you're crazy or lying. But, you're not crazy, and you're not lying. Maya felt a weight she didn't even know she had been carrying begin to lift from her shoulders. 4 months, Rick's gaslighting had made her question her own memories and perceptions. What happens now? She asked. Now we call someone who can help you officially, Hunter said. I know a social worker named Jennifer Martinez. She's good at her job, and she specializes in cases like yours. Will I have to go back to Rick while they investigate? Maya asked, panic creeping into her voice. Absolutely not, Hunter said firmly. Based on what you've told me, you're in immediate danger. Jennifer will make sure you're placed somewhere safe while everything gets sorted out. What if they don't believe me? Maya asked. What if they think I'm just a troubled kid making up stories? Hunter pulled out his phone and showed Maya a photo. See this man? This is Detective Ray Sullivan. He's worked with me on a lot of missing persons cases. He's also the person who will be investigating your stepfather once we report what's been happening to you. Maya studied the photo. Detective Sullivan had a kind face with laugh lines around his eyes. Ray has 3 daughters, Hunter continued. He takes cases involving child abuse very seriously, and he's very good at getting the evidence he needs to put abusers behind bars. Evidence? Maya asked. Photos of your injuries, medical records if you've ever been treated for injuries Rick caused, testimony from neighbors or teachers who might have noticed something, Hunter explained. Abusers usually aren't as careful as they think they are. Maya thought about Mrs. Peterson, her English teacher, who had asked her about the bruises on her arms a few weeks before she ran away. She had lied and said she fell off her bike, but she could tell Mrs. Peterson didn't believe her. There might be someone, Maya said slowly. My teacher. She noticed the bruises. That's good, Hunter said. Teachers are mandatory reporters, which means they're legally required to report suspected abuse. If she suspected something was wrong, there might already be a paper trail. Maya felt hope beginning to build in her chest. For the first time in months, it seemed like there might actually be a way out of her nightmare. I'm scared, she admitted. That's normal, Hunter said. You're about to make a big change, and change is always scary, even when it's good change. What if the foster family is bad too? Maya asked. Jennifer is really careful about the family she works with, Hunter said. And if for some reason a placement doesn't work out, they'll find you somewhere else. You're not trapped anymore, Maya. You have choices now. Maya nodded, trying to internalize what Hunter was saying. After months of feeling powerless, the idea that she might have some control over her life again was overwhelming. Will you stay with me when I talk to Jennifer and the detective? She asked. If you want me to, yes, Hunter said. I can be your advocate until you have an official one assigned. What's an advocate? Someone whose job is to make sure your rights are protected and your voice is heard, Hunter explained. Someone who's always on your side, no matter what. Maya had never heard of such a thing. The idea that adults existed whose job was specifically to protect kids like her seemed too good to be true. Are you sure this is real? She asked. Are you sure I'm not just going to end up back with Rick, or somewhere worse? Hunter looked directly into her eyes. Maya, I promise you that I will not let anyone send you back to Rick. I will not let anyone hurt you again if I have any power to stop it. And I will make sure you have adults in your life who will fight for you. Maya felt tears flowing freely now, but, for the first time in months, they were tears of relief rather than despair. Can we call Jennifer now? She asked. Right now, Hunter confirmed, already dialing his phone. As Maya listened to Hunter explain her situation to Jennifer Martinez, she felt like she was listening to her own story being told by someone who believed her, someone who was taking her seriously. It was a feeling she had almost forgotten existed. Jennifer agreed to meet them at the Department of Children and Family Services office within the hour. She would bring Detective Sullivan with her so they could begin the investigation immediately. Maya would be placed in emergency foster care that same day. One more thing, Hunter said as they prepared to leave the diner. Do you have any relatives who might be able to take you in? Aunts, uncles, grandparents? Maya shook her head. My mom was an only child, and her parents died when I was little. I don't know anything about Rick's family, and I wouldn't want to live with them anyway. That's okay, Hunter said. Jennifer has some great foster families she works with. You might even find one you want to stay with long term. As they walked back to Hunter's car, Maya realized that for the first time in almost a year, she was looking forward to the future instead of dreading it. She still felt scared and uncertain about what came next, but she no longer felt alone. Hunter had kept his promise to listen to her story and believe her. Now he was keeping his promise to help her find safety. As they drove toward the Department of Children and Family Services, Maya allowed herself to imagine what it might feel like to live somewhere she didn't have to lock her bedroom door at night, somewhere she could focus on school and friends instead of survival. Thank you, she said quietly as they pulled into the parking lot. You don't need to thank me, Hunter replied. You're incredibly brave, Maya. You saved yourself by having the courage to run away, and you saved yourself again by having the courage to trust me. Maya squeezed his hand. I'm ready, she said, and, for the first time in months, she meant it. The Department of Children and Family Services building was nothing like Maya had imagined. Instead of the cold, institutional atmosphere she expected, the lobby was warm and welcoming, with comfortable seating areas and artwork clearly created by children. Hunter sat beside her as they waited for Jennifer Martinez to arrive, his presence providing the anchor of stability Maya desperately needed. Jennifer arrived exactly when she said she would, accompanied by Detective Sullivan. Maya was surprised by how normal they both looked. Jennifer was a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a gentle smile, while Detective Sullivan looked exactly like the caring father Hunter had described. Neither of them made Maya feel like she was in trouble or had done something wrong. Maya, Jennifer said, settling into the chair across from her, Hunter has told me a little bit about your situation, but I'd like to hear it from you. Take your time, and remember that you're safe here. Maya glanced at Hunter, who nodded encouragingly. Over the next hour, she told her story again, this time in more detail. Jennifer and Detective Sullivan listened without interruption, occasionally asking gentle clarifying questions but never making Maya feel judged or doubted. Detective Sullivan took careful notes as Maya described the escalating abuse. When she told them about Rick's sexual advances, Jennifer reached over and squeezed her hand supportively. You were very smart to get away when you did, Detective Sullivan said when Maya finished. Based on what you've told us, I believe you were in immediate danger. What happens to Rick? Maya asked. I'm going to get a warrant to search your stepfather's house and arrest him, Detective Sullivan explained. We'll look for evidence of what he's been doing to you, and we'll also check to see if there are other victims. Other victims? Maya asked, confused. Unfortunately, people who abuse children often have more than one victim, Jennifer explained gently. By speaking up, you might be helping other kids who are in similar situations. Maya had never considered that her courage in running away and speaking up might help other children. The thought made her feel proud instead of ashamed for the first time in months. Now, let's talk about where you're going to stay, Jennifer continued. I have a foster family that specializes in emergency placements for teenagers. Their names are David and Sarah Chen, and they have a daughter about your age named Emma. Maya felt her stomach flutter with nervous excitement. What are they like? They've been foster parents for about 10 years, Jennifer said. They're both teachers, so they understand teenagers, and they're very good at helping kids adjust to new situations. Sarah teaches high school English, and David teaches middle school science. Will I have to change schools? Maya asked. The Chens live about 15 minutes from your current school, so you can finish out the year there if you want to, Jennifer said. But, if you'd prefer to transfer somewhere new for a fresh start, we can arrange that too. Maya thought about her teacher, Mrs. Peterson, who had noticed her bruises and tried to help. I think I'd like to stay at my school, at least for now. That sounds like a good plan, Jennifer agreed. Mrs. Chen wanted me to tell you that Emma is excited about the possibility of having a foster sister. She's 17 too, and she's on the debate team and volunteers at the animal shelter. Maya smiled for the first time in hours. The idea of having a sister, even temporarily, appealed to her more than she had expected. When do I meet them? Maya asked. They're waiting at home for my call, Jennifer said. If you're ready, we can head over there now. Hunter, you're welcome to come along if Maya would like you to. Maya looked at Hunter gratefully. Would you? At least until I meet them? Of course, Hunter said. I want to make sure you're comfortable with the placement. The Chen family lived in a modest two-story house in a quiet neighborhood. As Jennifer's car pulled into the driveway, Maya could see warm light spilling from the windows and what appeared to be a comfortable, lived-in home. Sarah Chen met them at the door, her warm smile immediately putting Maya at ease. She was petite with graying hair and laugh lines around her eyes that suggested a woman who smiled often. Maya, we're so glad you're here, Sarah said, stepping back to let them into the house. Emma's in the kitchen helping David finish dinner. We thought you might be hungry. Maya was touched that they had thought to prepare a meal for her, especially since she had already eaten at the diner with Hunter. It was such a small gesture, but it spoke to a level of care she hadn't experienced in a long time. David Chen appeared from the kitchen, wiping his hands on a dish towel. He was tall and lanky with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Welcome to our home, Maya. We hope you'll be comfortable here. Emma bounded out of the kitchen behind her father, her enthusiasm infectious. She had long black hair and her mother's warm smile, and she seemed genuinely excited to meet Maya. I made chocolate chip cookies, Emma said, because Mom said you probably hadn't had homemade cookies in a while. And I set up the spare room for you, but if you don't like how I decorated it, we can change everything around. Maya felt overwhelmed by the warmth and acceptance she was experiencing. After months of walking on eggshells around Rick, the Chen family's easy kindness felt almost foreign. Thank you, Maya managed, her voice thick with emotion. Jennifer, Hunter, and Detective Sullivan spent another hour at the Chen house, helping Maya get settled and making sure she understood what would happen next. Detective Sullivan would begin his investigation the following day, and Maya would need to give a formal statement at some point, but, for now, she just needed to rest and recover. I'll check on you in a couple of days, Jennifer told Maya as they prepared to leave. And if you need anything at all before then, you can call me anytime, day or night. Hunter lingered behind the others. You've got this, Maya, he said quietly. These are good people, and you deserve to be surrounded by good people. Will I see you again? Maya asked. If you want to, yes, Hunter said. I'd like to know how you're doing, if you're okay with me checking in occasionally. Maya nodded, feeling grateful beyond words for this man who had changed her life simply by treating her with kindness and respect. After the adults left, Sarah showed Maya to her room. It was painted a soft lavender color, with a comfortable bed covered in a colorful quilt. Emma had arranged fresh flowers on the nightstand and left a small gift bag on the pillow. I didn't know what you might need, Emma explained as Maya opened the bag to find new pajamas, a toothbrush, and various toiletries. But I figured you might not have had a chance to pack much when you left. Maya's eyes filled with tears. Emma's thoughtfulness was almost too much to process after months of cruelty and indifference. I didn't pack anything, Maya admitted. I just ran. I understand, Emma said, sitting cross-legged on the bed. I came here as an emergency placement too, about 3 years ago. Maya looked at her in surprise. You're in foster care too? My parents died in a car accident when I was 14, Emma explained. I didn't have any relatives who could take me in. The Chens were supposed to be temporary, but we all decided we liked each other too much to change anything. So you're staying permanently? Maya asked. They're adopting me, Emma said with a smile. It should be finalized in a few months. Maya felt a flutter of hope. If Emma had found a permanent home with the Chens, maybe there was a chance for Maya to find something similar.
Are they always this nice? Maya asked. Emma laughed. They're actually nicer than this, if you can believe it.
Mom cries during commercials for animal shelters, and Dad once drove 2 hours to return a wallet he found in a parking lot because it had family photos in it. Maya smiled, feeling lighter than she had in months.
They seem really happy.
They are, Emma agreed.
And they're good at helping kids heal from bad situations.
They never push you to talk about stuff you're not ready to discuss, but they're always there when you need them. That night, Maya lay in her new bed staring at the ceiling and trying to process everything that had happened in a single day. 12 hours earlier, she had been hiding under a concrete slab, hungry and desperate. Now she was in a warm bed in a safe house, surrounded by people who seemed genuinely interested in her well-being.
She thought about Rick, probably drunk and angry about her disappearance.
Tomorrow, Detective Sullivan would arrest him, and Maya would never have to see him again unless she chose to testify at his trial. The thought filled her with a mixture of relief and nervousness. A soft knock at her door interrupted her thoughts.
Maya? Sarah's voice called quietly. I brought you some tea. Sometimes it helps with the first night jitters. Maya sat up and invited Sarah into the room.
Sarah handed her a steaming mug of chamomile tea and sat in the chair beside the bed.
How are you feeling? Sarah asked. Confused, Maya said honestly. Like maybe I'm dreaming and I'll wake up back at the construction site. That's a normal feeling, Sarah said. When you've been in survival mode for a while, it takes time for your brain to believe that you're really safe. Emma said she came here as an emergency placement too.
She did, Sarah confirmed. She was so scared and angry when she first arrived. It took months for her to believe we weren't going to send her away.
But you never did.
We never did, Sarah agreed. Emma became our daughter in every way that matters long before we started the adoption paperwork.
Maya sipped her tea, feeling the warmth spread through her chest. Do all foster kids get to stay permanently if they want to?
Not all, Sarah said honestly. Sometimes kids have relatives who can take them, and once social services has time to do proper background checks. Sometimes kids are eventually reunified with their birth parents after those parents get help for their problems. But Emma's situation was similar to yours, no safe relatives, and a parent figure who was dangerous rather than just struggling.
What happens now? Maya asked.
Now you take things one day at a time, Sarah said.
You go back to school when you feel ready.
You work with Jennifer and Dr. Rodriguez. She's a therapist who specializes in helping kids who've been through trauma.
You let yourself be a teenager again instead of just trying to survive. Dr. Rodriguez?
Different Rodriguez from the one Hunter mentioned, but just as wonderful, Sarah said with a smile. She helped Emma a lot, and I think she could help you too, when you're ready. Maya nodded, feeling grateful for all the adults who seemed to be lining up to support her.
Sarah? Maya said as the woman prepared to leave. What if I mess this up somehow? What if I'm too damaged to fit into a normal family? Sarah sat back down and took Maya's hand. Maya, you are not damaged. You are a survivor.
You had the intelligence to recognize danger, the courage to escape from it, and the wisdom to accept help when it was offered.
Those are remarkable qualities. But what if I have nightmares or panic attacks or problems trusting people?
Then, we'll help you work through those things, Sarah said simply.
Healing isn't a straight line, and nobody expects you to be perfect. We just expect you to be yourself and let us care about you.
Maya felt tears sliding down her cheeks, but for once they were tears of gratitude rather than despair.
Thank you, she whispered.
Thank you for being brave enough to let us help, Sarah replied, squeezing her hand gently.
After Sarah left, Maya finished her tea and settled back into bed.
Through her window, she could see the lights from other houses in the neighborhood, each one representing a family living their normal, safe lives. For the first time in over a year, Maya was part of that safety. She thought about Hunter's words from earlier that day, that she had saved herself by being brave enough to run away and brave enough to trust. As she drifted off to sleep in her new bed, Maya realized he was right. She had saved herself, and now she had a chance to build something better than just survival. Tomorrow would bring new challenges as Detective Sullivan began his investigation and Maya started the process of healing from her trauma. But tonight, she was safe, warm, and surrounded by people who cared about her well-being. After months of darkness, Maya finally had reason to hope for a brighter future. 6 months had passed since Maya first met Hunter at the construction site, and as she stood in the courthouse waiting room, she could barely recognize the scared, broken girl she had been. The transformation hadn't been easy or quick, but, with the help of the Chen family, Dr. Rodriguez, and her support network, Maya had slowly learned to trust again. Today was the day of Rick's sentencing. He had pled guilty to charges of child abuse and attempted sexual assault, sparing Maya the trauma of a trial. Detective Sullivan's investigation had been thorough, uncovering not only evidence of his abuse toward Maya but also a previous incident with a neighbor's daughter that had been covered up. Maya wore a navy blue dress that Sarah had helped her pick out, something that made her feel confident and strong. Emma sat beside her, holding her hand for moral support, while David and Sarah flanked them protectively. Hunter had come too, along with Jennifer Martinez, creating a circle of adults who had all played crucial roles in Maya's recovery. Dr. Rodriguez had spent weeks preparing Maya for this moment, helping her understand that seeing Rick again might bring up difficult emotions, but that she was strong enough to handle whatever she felt. Maya had chosen to give a victim impact statement, wanting Rick and the court to know how his actions had affected her. When Rick was brought into the courtroom in handcuffs, Maya felt her heart rate increase, but she didn't feel the paralyzing fear she had expected. Instead, she felt anger, clean, righteous anger at the man who had stolen her childhood and forced her to grow up too fast. Rick looked smaller than she remembered, older and more defeated. The powerful, threatening figure from her nightmares had been reduced to a pathetic man in an orange jumpsuit who couldn't even meet her eyes. Judge Patricia Williams called Maya forward to read her statement. As she walked to the podium, Maya felt the strength of all the people who believed in her flowing through her body. "My name is Maya Thompson," she began, her voice clear and steady. 6 months ago, I was sleeping under a concrete slab at a construction site because I believed it was safer than staying in the same house as Rick Thompson. I was 17 years old, and I had been enduring physical and sexual abuse for over a year. Maya glanced back at her support network, drawing courage from their encouraging faces. "Rick Thompson told me that no one would believe me if I tried to tell anyone what he was doing. He told me that I was worthless, that I deserved the treatment he gave me, and that if I ran away, I would end up dead or worse. For a long time, I believed him." Rick shifted uncomfortably in his chair, still unable to look at Maya. "But I was wrong to believe him, and he was wrong about everything," Maya continued, her voice growing stronger. "People did believe me. I wasn't worthless. I didn't deserve abuse. And running away wasn't the end of my story, it was the beginning of my real life." Maya took a deep breath before continuing. "The abuse Rick inflicted on me stole more than a year of my childhood. It made me afraid to trust adults, afraid to believe I deserved kindness, and afraid to hope for a better future. It gave me nightmares and panic attacks. It made me feel like I was dirty and broken and beyond help." She paused, looking directly at Rick for the first time. "But here's what Rick didn't understand about me, and what he doesn't understand about any of the kids he hurt. We are stronger than the worst things that happened to us. We are capable of healing. And we deserve to be protected, not by hiding from dangerous people, but by making sure dangerous people face consequences for their actions." Maya's voice remained steady, but there were tears in the eyes of nearly everyone in the courtroom. "Today, I am not the scared, broken girl who ran away from Rick Thompson's house. I am a survivor who has found her voice and her strength. I live with a family who treats me with love and respect. I am back in school, where I am an honor student and president of the drama club. I have friends who care about me, and adults in my life who would move heaven and earth to keep me safe." Maya looked back at the Chun family, who were wiping away tears. "I am not defined by what Rick Thompson did to me. I am defined by my courage in escaping, my strength in healing, and my commitment to making sure other kids in similar situations know that help is available and that they are worth saving." Maya turned back to face Rick directly. "What you did to me was wrong, and it was criminal, and you deserve to face the full consequences of your choices.
But you did not win, Rick. You did not break me.
You did not destroy my future. You failed at the most fundamental level, you failed to crush my spirit. She looked up at Judge Williams. I ask that you sentence Rick Thompson to the maximum penalty allowed by law, not because I want revenge, but because children need to be protected from people like him. Other kids deserve the chance to grow up safe and loved, the way every child should.
Maya returned to her seat to quiet applause from the courtroom gallery.
Hunter reached over and squeezed her shoulder, pride evident in his eyes. Sarah was crying openly, and even Emma was wiping away tears. Judge Williams sentenced Rick to 12 years in prison without the possibility of parole for 8 years. She commended Maya for her courage in speaking up and noted that Maya's victim impact statement was one of the most powerful she had ever heard. As they left the courthouse, Maya felt a weight lifting from her shoulders that she hadn't even realized she was carrying. The legal proceedings were finally over. Rick would be in prison for a long time, and Maya was free to move forward with her life without looking over her shoulder. Hunter walked beside her as they made their way to the parking lot.
I'm proud of you, he said simply.
That was incredibly brave.
I couldn't have done it without all of you, Maya replied.
6 months ago, I didn't even know people like you existed, adults who actually keep their promises to help kids.
We exist, Hunter assured her. And we'll always be here for you. That evening, the Chen family held a small celebration dinner at their favorite restaurant.
Maya had officially asked David and Sarah if she could call them Dad and Mom, and they had tearfully agreed.
The adoption paperwork would be finalized within the next few months, making Maya and Emma official sisters.
As they sat around the dinner table, Maya reflected on the journey that had brought her to this moment. The scared, desperate girl hiding under a concrete slab seemed like someone from another lifetime. In her place was a young woman who understood her own worth and had the support system to help her achieve her dreams. I have some news to share, Maya announced as they finished their meal. I got accepted to State University with a partial scholarship. I want to study social work. The table erupted in congratulations and excitement. Sarah and David beamed with parental pride, while Emma launched into an animated discussion about campus visits and dormitory life.
Social work? Jennifer Martinez asked.
She had joined them for dinner, having become almost like extended family over the past months.
Following in my footsteps?
Following in all of your footsteps, Maya corrected.
Hunter, Jennifer, Dr.
Rodriguez, Mom and Dad, you all showed me what it looks like when adults use their skills and resources to protect kids. I want to be that person for other kids who are where I was 6 months ago.
Hunter raised his glass.
To Maya, he said, who turned her pain into purpose and her survival into strength.
To Maya, everyone echoed, raising their glasses.
As Maya looked around the table at the faces of the people who had become her chosen family, she thought about that moment 6 months earlier when she had whispered to Hunter from beneath the concrete slab, convinced that her story was ending. She had been so wrong. Her story hadn't been ending, it had been beginning. The abuse and trauma she endured had been devastating, but they had also revealed reserves of courage and resilience she hadn't known she possessed. More importantly, they had led her to people who saw her value and helped her see it too. Maya thought about other kids out there who might be hiding in construction sites or under bridges, convinced that no one would believe them or help them. She thought about the work she would do as a social worker to find those kids and show them that their stories didn't have to end in despair.
After dinner, as they walked to their cars, Hunter pulled Maya aside for a private moment. I want you to know, he said, that meeting you changed me too. When I first started doing this job, I thought success meant reuniting families and bringing kids home. You taught me that sometimes success means helping a kid find a new home, a better home. You saved my life, Maya said simply.
No, Hunter replied with a smile.
You saved your own life. I just happened to be there when you were ready to accept help.
Maya hugged him tightly, grateful beyond words for this man who had seen her worth when she couldn't see it herself. As the Chen family drove home together, Maya stared out the window at the city lights and thought about her future.
She would graduate from high school in a few months as valedictorian.
She would go to college and study social work. She would help other kids find their way out of dangerous situations and into loving homes. But, more than that, she would live. She would form healthy relationships, pursue her dreams, and experience all the joy and love and adventure that had seemed impossible during her darkest moments. Maya had learned that healing wasn't a destination but a journey, and that recovery wasn't about forgetting the past but about refusing to let it define the future. She still had occasional nightmares and moments of anxiety, but she also had coping strategies and a support network that would help her through anything life might throw at her. As they pulled into their driveway, Emma nudged her. "Penny for your thoughts?" Maya smiled at her sister. "I was just thinking about how different everything is from 6 months ago." "How different I am." "Different how?" Emma asked. 6 months ago, I believed I was worthless and that no one would ever love me," Maya said. "Tonight, I'm sitting in a car with my family, planning my future, and feeling grateful for every day I get to live this life."
Emma squeezed her hand. "I'm grateful too.
Grateful that Hunter found you, grateful that you were brave enough to trust him, and grateful that we get to be sisters." As they walked into their house together, Maya felt the warmth and safety of home surrounding her. She had traveled an incredible distance from that construction site, but the most important journey had been internal, from despair to hope, from isolation to connection, and from survival to truly living.
Maya's story had indeed begun with trauma and abuse, but it had not ended there.
With courage, support, and an unwavering belief in her own worth, she had written a new ending for herself. And, as she prepared to help other children write new endings for their own stories, Maya knew that the scared girl who once hid under a concrete slab had grown into exactly who she was meant to be, a survivor, a fighter, and a beacon of hope for others still trapped in the darkness. The title that had once seemed to mark the end of her story, "Finish It Quickly, Hunter, I Won't Scream," whispered the injured runaway from beneath the rock, had instead marked the beginning of her transformation. Maya had not been finished that day. She had been found, saved, and given the chance to become who she truly was meant to be. And that, she realized, was the most beautiful ending of all.